Welcome back to the Endless Party, everybody. We are glad you are here with us.
Hello, 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 hello.
Meg is amped.
I am super excited because today's a good day.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. I want to tell a little story that I'm going to share with you.
It's a good little story.
This story, I think, illustrates exactly what we're trying to speak about today. And that's good intentions. So a little girl comes up to her mom and she just finished drawing a picture. She shows it to her mom. Turns out it's a picture of a cat with no tail. And her mom goes, "Wow, that's beautiful, but where's the tail?" And the little girl kind of looks at the cat and then she looks at her big black marker and she goes, "Why, it's still in the marker." And I think good intentions are a lot like that. We have all the best intentions to say a kind word, spend more time with our loved ones, whatever it is, but they still reside within us. And oftentimes they die with us. You know, and so that's what we want to speak about today. But what was so cool is that we saw what good intentions that are followed through actually, like the result of those. We had our little baby girl's 6-month NICU follow-up appointment today, which is insane.
It was crazy because I remember we were in the NICU in December and I remember kind of thinking we're never going to leave the NICU. Like our life and whole personality was
NICU.
The NICU. And I remember they were like, "Okay, we're going to need you to schedule this follow-up appointment for another 6 months so that we can check on their development and make sure that everything's okay, especially because of their prematurity."
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I was like, "Sure, we'll schedule it for June," thinking like June seems so far away. And here we were in June.
And we just went to our appointment.
Anyway.
They're 6 months old.
They're 6 months old.
Pretty cool. But what was kind of cool about this experience was our little girls were actually ahead of where they should be. And I think these appointments are really for the parents just to kind of gauge where their kids are and what they should be doing and the little exercises that they should be doing with them. And it doesn't take much.
No.
And it's pretty crazy because we're able to sit down, and I think we have the luxury of just being able to be with our kids a lot. And because of that, it shows. Like we spend a lot of time with our baby girls. We read to them, we play with them, we sing to them, we're just present with them. And because of that, their learning and their development is really off the charts in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it was really, really cool to see just because, like, I think everyone intends to have, these, good kids, but especially with, like, raising children, good intentions aren't enough. Mm-hmm. You have to put in work and action, and like Elijah and my life has centered on the babies for 6 months, so it was really rewarding to see that our work was paying off and that just what that our babies are doing really well. It was just really nice to see.
No, absolutely. And it's kind of cool to just be able to take a step back from these 6 months as a parent and recognize the fruits of your labors and see that your efforts don't go without reward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's kind of crazy that, like, in life, I feel like day by day, like, the improvements are so small or their growth is so just gradual that we don't see it.
We don't realize
But it was crazy. I think being with some of our favorite nurses and doctors again, and then, I don't know, it kind of, like, when I saw our nurses, I remembered my tiny 3-pound baby, and then I looked at my, healthy 12-pound baby, and I was like, whoa, they really have grown so much. But it was cool to, like, that perspective of, I don't know, like, you just don't realize it day by day, like, that your good intentions are, and your, like, efforts are working,
Yeah. And I guess to go back to this good intentions aren't enough idea, it's as a parent now, looking back over these past 6 months, luckily I can say that I don't have any regrets. I can honestly say the same thing about my wife here. She doesn't have any regrets. We've made the most of every experience with these little girls. But here's the craziest part. when we did set that appointment back in December, it felt like eons away. Eons.
So long.
And this is what's insane. Our daughters are already 6 months old. 6 months old. That's insane. That's crazy. And I cannot even imagine like how much faster time is about to go as they grow up. But here's the hardest part. Good intentions aren't enough when it comes to your family, your friends, and those relationships in your life that you care about. For example, a lot of times I think people make this misunderstanding that, oh, my wife knows I love her, or oh, my kids know I love them. But do they actually? Like, when was the last time each of you said, I love you, to your spouse, or to your mom, or to your dad, or even to any of your children? When was the last time you sat down and gave them a hug or spent time with them, quality time? Instead of scrolling on social media or instead of watching some Netflix episode, when was the last time that you sat down as a family and had a game night and really talked to your kids about what they are experiencing in life? And I think that's where good intentions oftentimes mislead people. There's actually a quote that reads, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." And the reason being is like, oh, I'll read my scriptures tomorrow. Or, oh, I'll say my prayers tomorrow. You have all the best intentions to do these good things, but then tomorrow never comes. And Ogmandino says, tomorrow only exists on a fool's calendar. And so it's like, make the most of today. Like, take advantage of the time that you have been given right now. My little girls are only going to be 6 months old for, well, really, this month. And then that's gone. Like, that time is already fleeting. And so it's like, that's why you have to make the most of each day that you have.
Yeah. So my friend Riley and I were talking about being intentional parents because, you know my friend Riley. Love my friend Riley. She lives across the way, and her and I are moms, and we're raising kids. Anyways.
She's a homie.
So her and I, like, I don't remember this doctor's name, but he's a psychiatrist, I believe, like a renowned brain doctor. And anyways, the reason why I bring him up is he gives a really good example of how we can be intentional with our kids. And this is something I've started to implement into my family's lives. And it's take 20 minutes a day to be with your child and do something that they love to do. So right now, of course, B and Winnie, like, they can't, like, we don't communicate, right? So I can't.
They love to eat.
Yeah,
that's about
I can't directly, I can't directly ask them what they want to do. But what I have tried to do is I've tried to, like, just clear space in my day and in my head where I'm like, okay, for these 20 minutes, I'm going to lay down outside on a blanket with them, and we're just going to be. And we sing songs, and we talk about what's going on. And a lot of times, actually, we don't say much. We're just by each other, and we're laying by each other, and we're enjoying the summer's day. And I think that's so valuable, and it's something I really want to keep up the older they get, especially the older they get, and with all the kids we might have, because like 20 minutes out of my day is all it takes to let them know that I'm being intentional with my relationship with them. And I think the same goes with like you and I. I feel like you and I have really been trying to be intentional too about our time, and like setting aside a time of day where we don't work or we don't, check off things off of the to-do list. We just simply try to like hang out and be with each other and like remember that we are friends and, spend time with each other. And I think that's so big.
Well, I think what's kind of cool about that is it also shows behind the action is just small and simple. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant, right? That's 20 minutes a day. That accumulates to 2 hours and 20 minutes a week. Like then that's what's crazy. Like, just that 20 minutes a day will accumulate over a lifetime, and your kids will recognize that, or your spouse will recognize that you took that time out of your day to just be with them and focus on them as an individual. And what's cool is this doesn't have to be something that is life-changing, that you have to drop everything in your life in order to be with your kids or your wife. It's like, no, like, it doesn't take much.
No.
It just takes a little bit of your time, a little bit of your energy, and a little bit of your emotion to be involved.
Yeah, and I think we have it so backwards because I feel like everybody's like, oh, you know, to spend time with your kid, you have to create these experiences for them. You need to take them to the zoo or the library and do all this, you know, play in activities. And I think it's so backwards. Like, seriously, me and the babies, we go outside in the shade on a blanket and we just
hang out.
We just hang out for, you know, it's obviously longer than 20 minutes, but for 20 minutes, I just try to be really intentional and just like be there, you know, in the moment with them.
We even saw,
and it matters.
Yeah. We just saw a mom across the street just play soccer with her kid for probably about that much time.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
And the kid was stoked.
He was amped. He just was glad he was with his mom. I think it was mom, might have been his grandma, but it didn't matter. Like, somebody was spending time with him, and that's what mattered to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think what's kind of been cool about having kids, and I think all parents can relate to this to some extent, little mundane things that drive you nuts at first, I think are ever so fleeting. Actually, there's a quote from Thomas S. Monson, and he says, "If you are still in the process of raising children, be aware that the tiny fingerprints that show up on almost every newly cleaned surface, the toys scattered about the house, the piles and piles of laundry to be tackled will disappear all too soon, and that you will, to your surprise, miss them profoundly." I don't think me and Meg are to the point where we miss laundry or any of that stuff, but I know there's going to be a day that actually comes.
Yeah.
I know that there will be a day when I miss folding those tiny, tiny onesies and their teeny socks and like making their little drawers organized. To me right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like our laundry pile couldn't be bigger.
Funny enough, so we're sitting here and there's a
huge pile
of laundry staring, like right off camera, just staring at us. There's also just a whole bomb of a mess around us. But I wanted to bring this up because, you know, prior to our babies, Elijah and I were very organized, very like...
We still are.
But I think our house isn't dirty, but it's definitely messy.
It's messy.
Every day it gets really messy.
Yeah.
And every day Elijah and I have to regroup and clean it up. But before we had kids, we actually kind of agreed that if something was going to go, it would be our house. Before it was time away from our kids and you know, and time away from the things that really mattered. So that's something that, like we said, our house isn't dirty, but it, like, the end of the night comes and it's a bomb. Like, we don't know how it goes.
No, it's insane. And what's crazy is our babies aren't
they don't even move. We don't know where.
We get out toys, we get out everything to play with, like books upon books to read. Everything is just scattered about.
Everything's out.
And I think that's the key, though, right? Our house is messy, but it's never dirty. I don't want my kids in a dirty house.
No, it's not dirty.
It can definitely be cluttered. It can be messy.
But there are toys and laundry and.
But here's what's
everywhere.
So profound about this, and I think my house growing up was very, very similar. I think Meg's house growing up was very similar. The children were never neglected.
No.
Like, at the end of the day, the house might have been cluttered. Toys, games, puzzles, whatever it was, were scattered about. But then when you went to bed at night, there were 7 kids in my family, 8 kids in your family, all tucked in their clean, warm, nice pajamas, in their
clean
bed, and they were happy. And I think that's what we want to make sure that parents take advantage of. It's like, even just being parents for 6 months now, take advantage of those tender moments with your kids. Take advantage of just playing with them and being present in their lives, because they're going away so fast.
And like, trust me, the mess will always be there.
The mess is always going to be there. It's always going to be waiting for you. It doesn't matter.
You don't have to stress. It's still going to be there.
No. And like, I think too, you know, yeah, you can have a spotless house, but at what extent? Like, what goes to the wayside because of it? You know, our house could always be clean, but our kids would just be sitting in a clean house without books, without toys, and what good is that? What good does that do? And I think actually your mom and my mom were very good examples of this, that their houses were definitely messy, but they were never dirty. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just really cool.
I think it's cool too.
Yeah.
I think another like cost of a clean house is like parents who are always cleaning the house, right? Like you're gonna miss out on so many opportunities with your kids because you'll be picking up their toys or doing whatever.
Yeah. There's another story that I heard growing up. I don't even remember where it came from, but it was entitled The Man in the Map. And there was this little boy who came up to his father, and his father was a big CEO, and he was just working all day long. And this little boy came up to him and he's like, "Daddy, can you play?" And he's like, "No, I can't play." He comes up again, "Daddy, can you play?" He's like, "No, I can't play." Kid comes up a third time, and finally his dad finds an old map, cuts it into a million pieces, and he says, "Once you put this map back together, then I'll play with you." And so the kid runs over and he puts the map together in like 15 minutes, pretty quick. And the dad was like, "How in the world did you put this back together?" And he goes, "Oh, it was easy. I just flipped the map over and there was this big man on the back. And as soon as I put him together, the map was together." And the dad immediately just kind of sits back and he's like dumbfounded because it kind of struck him like, oh my gosh, like I'm that man. I'm the man with all of this missing pieces, and like I'm the one who needs to be put back together. Here I am slaving over this job that in 15 years from now won't even matter, but in 15 years from now with my son, he's going to be gone. And I just think this is very profound in the sense that it's like never let go of things that are most important. Like Meg said, the laundry will always be there, the mess will always be there, work will always be there.
His job will always be
there.
there.
Yeah, and in no way are we saying neglect those things.
No.
You have to take responsibility and really like work hard and
yeah, because the reality is the laundry
kids.
Does need to get folded. Money needs to be made, you know.
And by like I said, in no way, shape, or form are we saying neglect those things, but we are saying to put them aside long enough that you spend time where it is most needed. And that's on the relationships in your life. And so, just like this little boy that put the man back together, I hope each and every one of us put ourselves back together and make sure we put first things first. The things in our lives that are most important, the things that really deserve the most attention.
Mm-hmm. I think another way that we can be very intentional is just, there's like a quote from Harry Potter. You say it all the time about the priorities.
Oh, Ron. She needs to show out her priorities.
Yes. And I think, like, in our world, I feel like a lot of us have a hard time saying no, but that's huge. It's like, actually, no, I'm going to choose what's best for me and my family, and you know, maybe I'm not going to come to this event or be a part of this because I'm going to be present, you know,
in their lives
and realize what I have.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's also another phrase that says the saddest words that could ever be uttered are, I wish I had.
Oh yeah.
But there's a poem that reads that, but it's like rhymey. I don't know it right now off the top of my head. So if I find it, I'll let you know. But I do think that is ultimately the saddest words that can ever be uttered are, I wish I had. And I hope each and every one of us can say, I'm glad I did instead. This is actually kind of a sadder story. I had a friend back in middle school. We were best friends. And he was a boxer, I was a wrestler. And he came out for the wrestling team, and he actually ended up like getting so mad because I was just like whooping on him, and he punched me in the face because he's that
oh
mad.
My word.
And anyways, I relay this story just because like he was a really good friend, and then we kind of lost touch a little bit through high school, and in college, right when me and Meg started dating, he actually passed away tragically in a car accident, and I just think back to that experience of, you know, if I would have been a better friend, if I could have reached out to him a little more, if I could have not lost touch in high school, like what difference would that have made in his life or his family's life? And I never want to look back on friendships like that and say, man, like what difference could I have made? Instead, it's like, man, look at the difference I did make. And so I would encourage each and every one of you, including myself, including Meg, that don't wait to reach out to those friends. Don't wait to say I love you to your family members, and don't wait to give a much needed hug to those that you care about, because you never want to say those words that I wish I had.
Right. I have a sister. She's awesome. And more often, like, she texts me pretty much every night. And her texts are super simple. They're always like, I love you, I miss you, I'm glad we're sisters. And I think it's just so intentional, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful. And she's actually gotten busier, and which is totally fine. And so she just, you know, like, we don't get to talk as much as we would, you know.
Normally.
Yeah, as we would normally. She's really busy working and preparing some things for her future, her life. Anyways, and so, but it's been interesting because I've missed that text. And so, but now I try to be, you know, now it's kind of cool because now I can be the one who's like super intentional while she's busy. Like, I try to text her, you know, and it's just like a relationship that really matters. So like, send that text, you know, and look for like small ways that you can be intentional in your relationships, because they really do add up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I even think back to our marriage, and there's no regrets that I have within our marriage at all. But there's small and simple things that even I could do better on a daily basis to make sure that my wife, good old Miss Meg right here, feels more appreciated, feels more loved, feels more affectionate towards me or towards each other. You know, keep that romance alive, that spark of love.
Ooh hoo hoo.
Yeah. There's also one other quote that I want to say. I don't know how to say his first name.
It looks like caveat, but like...
His name's Mr. Robert.
Mr. Robert.
He observed that 3 billion people go to bed hungry every night, but 4 billion people go to bed hungry for a word of encouragement and concern. And so I just want to urge each and every one of you as well as ourselves, to make sure that those people in your life don't go to bed hungry for a word of encouragement or concern. Make sure that you express that to your wife, to your kids, to those that you care about, just like Meg's sister does. That she has all the best intentions, but then she follows through by making sure that her sister who lives far away knows that she loves her, knows that she's always thinking about her, and knows that she still wants a really sound relationship with her in her life.
Yeah, I'm just super thankful for the relationships I have been given, and like this podcast, as we're even, you know, talking about it right now. Like, I think, you know, there's like friends on my mind that I right now, I'm like, I really should reach out to them anyway, so yeah. I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it at that.
So I guess to end this podcast, just like we began this podcast, if you draw a picture of a cat,
put the tail. Don't leave the marker. Wait, don't leave the
tail
in the marker.
Be sure that when you draw a picture of a cat, you actually put the tail on the end. So good intentions are not enough. Put action behind those intentions.
Yes. We love you guys.
We love you guys. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.